Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
What's up?
Hello.
Greetings.
Very good. We're just gonna keep all that in. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Hot Springs and Hydras. This is episode 2. Our party of animal folk have been threatened in their home and are now gonna take matters into their own hands or something. I don't know. I'll let the players explain what the heck this is. Starting. I'm just gonna quickly go around everyone, and then we're gonna end with Todd because Todd is new today. Not new in general, but we'll get to. Bianca, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name's Bianca. I'm playing Flynn Proudtail, who is a squirrel ranger. He's a noble person who takes care of the area in which we are playing, the region. It's his land. Not really sure what else you want me to say.
That's okay. That's enough. We just need to make sure that people can associate your voice with your character because there's no visuals to help with that.
Sure thing. Well, That's me.
Great.
I'm Flynn.
Chris, jump into it.
Hey, my name's Chris. I'm playing Puddles. Puddles is a turtle.
And he sounds like that. That's about right. Cool.
Puddles is a turtle.
B, you want to follow that up?
Yeah, sure. I'm playing Cass, who is a cat swindler rogue kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's my character.
All right, great. Mocha, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. So I'm Mocha Slats online, and I play Winston Wetfoot, who is a druid. His race is dwarf, but he is a capybara in this story.
I'm pretty sure
And
we
he
based your
runs
race
hot-
off of
hot-
Goliath, but it's not hardly here or there in our setting.
Oh, okay. I need to change that in my sheet then.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he runs a hot spring in between two towns, so there's a lot of travelers that go there. And apparently there's something threatening his hot spring that he feels like it's going to be a big problem. So he's going to join some other folks and take a look at what's going on.
Yes, everyone here except for Todd, who we have not introduced yet, was here last week and was at the hot springs and found some gurgling mess that they needed to deal with real quick, and I've sort of, in the interim, decided what they wish to do with this. How Todd is going to get in here, we have yet to determine. With that, Todd, would you like to introduce yourself?
I kick in the door. My name is Todd. I'm a player and DM, and I'm going to do a shameless plug for my own little channel of
Please
SideQuest
do.
Live. And you can find us on Twitch and all the podcast places. So SideQuest Live. It's SideQuests, all one word for some reason, and then Live is its own thing. Anyway, I'm Todd, and I will be playing Warren, who is a Haragon, rabbit folk, and a bard, and just trying to make his troublesome little way in the world and live up to some pretty big, well, not shoes, because they probably don't wear shoes, but some pretty big shoes to fill. And that's what I'm doing in the world.
Very good. All right. Well,
But what do you play, if anything?
You may occasionally hear the thumping of a foot, which is very drum-like, and then also the dulcet tones of a lute,
Nice.
and a nice warbling voice. But he also is known to spin a tale or two.
Cool.
Very nice.
Very good. So I think we actually open with you traveling, the initial 4 of you. It was basically either either it was dusk or just past nightfall when we last saw the set at the last session, because I remember Aldrin, our bird friend, had was basically showing up to stay the night, right? So I don't think I explicitly stated the time, but that feels correct to me. So we open with I think a low camera shot of this sort of glistening wet rainbow trail on the forest floor. It's almost like gasoline runoff, do you know what I mean? And it's at night. We can see up through this giant like old growth forest, just like massive trees that actually don't provide too much of a canopy cover, so you can see the starlight between these large separate trees that you're walking between. There's also, I think we get a shot of, as you might imagine, you walking along and seeing a number of birds fly by. We see our characters walk into frame, and at the same sort of like size ratio to that, you can imagine, we're seeing these like giant fireflies just like flit through the just like below the canopy and such, adding sort of to this starry scape despite the trees.
How big are these fireflies? Like, are they still firefly sized, or
no? They're like a pigeon or something, but like not actually, because in here a pigeon would be like a person. But you see what I'm saying, right? Comparative sizes, yeah. And they're just like adding to the window dressing of the scene, and providing a little bit of light as you walk along. You can see well enough in the dark. It's maybe dim, but it's not like you're bumbling around or anything. The four of you walk into frame with Aldrin, who I think has like left the skies and is walking along ahead of, or I mean, potentially beside. I imagine either like in step with Flynn or ahead if people hadn't sort of caught up with them, because they did leave initially right out the gate. That said, if anybody has anything they wanted to sort of flash back to having done before leaving, where we left off in the previous episode, please jump in and do that. I don't want to cut away, but I do want to move us forward.
Flynn was injured.
Yes.
In the combat. And you said Aldrin left immediately?
Yeah. You had that little conversation at the end of the last episode, and they ended it with just like, I don't have time to wait around. I need to go and deal with this. If you wish to come. Otherwise, stay safe, right? And then left.
Yeah. Okay. If we're all caught up with him already, I think probably not too much would have happened, but I imagine Flynn would have gone back to like the main room where we'd all kind of met up and were hanging out, grabbed the rest of his stuff that he left behind, and maybe like bandaged his arm up real quick, but he's still injured, and it was just like a rough bandage.
Yeah, so we see you in this new shot, looking about the same as previously, except for now you've got this bandage on one of your arms. Very cool. I like that extra detail to your appearance. I imagine you are mostly walking in silence following this trail. If people do want to break that silence, there is this sort of moment to do so, but for the time being, you are simply following this like very clear and obvious trail of this like weird sort of rainbow-like substance on the ground.
I think I would like to sidle up to Aldrin, like just kind of make my way over to him.
Okay.
And just be like, so, is it? Do you think there might be some compensation in store from the council if we complete this for helping you out?
A reasonable request. I can have some words with the higher ups, but I can't make any promises.
Yeah, that's understandable. I guess the thing I can't help but notice is that you're kind of like coy about, say about this whole mess when
I didn't have a reason to bring it up originally.
That makes sense. It's just like, I don't know. It's just, I kind of I can't help it. I just talk a lot. Like, I travel a lot, and I just love talking to people, sharing stories, and I don't know, just like, yeah, I don't know if I just want to know if like how you would feel about that.
about telling stories.
Yeah, yes, about how there's a thing how we do the.
Mhm.
I guess like the gist of it is like I'm trying to imply I'm trying to buy my get them to buy my silence.
Ah, I see. I like
Yeah.
that. Make me a roll. I'm not sure what this is right now. I don't know exactly if it's
an intimidate roll.
It's an intimidate roll. You're 100% right. I was just about to get there. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, you're
Okay.
it's a veiled threat, but it's an intimidation. Yeah.
I think it's probably
Yeah.
like, if anything, I would say it's like charisma with intimidate proficiency.
Yeah. This is honestly more of like, do they pick up on what you're putting down, right? That's what this roll is. Which is maybe means I should be contesting you with my own insight, but just roll it. It's faster.
Alright. Dang it.
Yeah.
They do not understand what I mean at all.
Right. They're just sort of have it your way. I can't be
Sounds
sure
good. And like
how this is going to end.
and I kind of
Appreciate.
So
yeah,
did you say
I
a
think
wizard
there's
did
a
it?
moment where I think there's a moment where I kind of slowed, like the camera follows me as I kind of slow down and let him walk out of frame and just like snap my fingers like crap, like like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Aldrin.
Yes.
Did you say a wizard did it?
We believe so. This wasn't some.
But aren't you the wizard?
I'm not a wizard. I'm merely a scout for the council.
Yeah, but the council's the wizards, right? Why did they do it?
This is unsanctioned behavior, let's say. Which is why it's our responsibility to deal with it.
Oh, so your guys are responsible.
In a sense, I suppose so. You give someone the skills to do ill. It's your responsibility to make sure they don't, I suppose. That's why we're here. Well, that's why I'm here. I appreciate all the support.
What exactly?
So you're gonna come clean the bath then, right?
So what were you gonna say, Bianca?
What exactly do you suppose this wizard was trying to achieve? Is it trying to create some kind of monster race, or what? Like, never seen anything like that thing.
I don't have more information than what you have. From the looks of it, yes, I would agree. That is what it looks like. But no others is, well, no more detail do I have. I don't know why they would do this. I don't know if that is what their end goal is.
Does the council have any leads on who the wizard is? Do you know this person?
We're looking for Jiraga. I don't know if that name means anything to you.
Doesn't. Would it? Is that
I'm not
something?
sure. You could know. They are one of the. They were a wizard of enough standing in the council that they, or maybe I'm not sure if they were in the council exactly, but they were like associated with the whole wizards hierarchy, right? So,
right.
It depends on how well known you are for that. I think you could make either a history or arcana check because it is relevant to arcane.
Yeah, I don't think Flynn would have too much knowledge of like the wizardry stuff, but if it's happening in in his land. Like if this wizard's been around for a while, he might have heard things through the rumor mill. So I don't know if that would be a history check.
Sure.
Like recent
Go for
history?
it. You can go either history or arcana. I'll take either. I see that
Sure. All right.
Puddles has rolled a 16 arcana. So while Flynn, you think on the name and think, I don't recognize that, which makes sense, right? They are, I mean, you don't know exactly because you don't recognize them, but
what does Puddles know?
yeah, Puddles, as you
Yeah, were
hear this
they-
name. Hmm? Please.
Do I recognize anything? Were they at school like before I became a hermit? Before I isolated myself?
Yeah, it's a good question, right? Like, I think you do know the name. You recognize it at very least. But I'm curious about what's your relationship with the, like, Wizarding Academy, for lack of a better term. I haven't really fleshed out the name of that or the structure or hierarchy. But you're not a wizard. You're not one who has been living within the walls of the northern city, not northern, like the city to the north, not in the Northlands or anything. Anyway,
The capital city.
so I don't know if it's the capital. It's like where it's the seat of power of this area, right? Which isn't necessarily, it's a whole thing. But
I guess so, yeah.
I used to be there. People thought that I was a wizard or should be trained as a wizard because I'm a sorcerer. So I'm not sure if I was actually at the academy. I probably like toured the campus at least a couple times. I probably spent some time on the campus. I don't think I was ever officially a student.
yeah, okay, I like this,
But like
right?
people thought that I was for a long time, and so I like had some connections at the time, but that was like
No, that makes a lot of
50
sense to
years
me.
ago.
Like, you toured the campus, you saw the like wizards and how their structure very much is like, once we start teaching you, you become like sort of weirdly connected to them in this inherent way that you weren't interested in, right? It's part of why you went back out, became a hermit. That makes a lot of sense to me. That said, your hermitage started like well over 50
Say like
years ago, right?
at least 50 years.
Yeah.
At least 50 years ago, something like that.
Yeah. No, I kind of like that. I think that, yeah, you recognize the name. Amazingly, it sticks out in your mind. And I think that part of it is because if you sort of kept up with, I guess, magical theory in any way, you would have heard the name of Jiraga, also known as Jiraga the Pack Rat. They are a rat that was very interested in transmutational magic. So any sort of new theories that came out of the university and its council often had Jiraga's name attached to them when it had to do with transmutational magic.
Superstar. Big time researcher or big brain ratterfolk.
They certainly are certainly an asset to all of Wizards. It is a shame. I don't want to cast too much judgment too quickly, and nor is it my place. As I said, I'm just a scout for the council. And Aldrin like
Oh, are they like?
Hmm?
Did something bad happen at the council?
I'm not at liberty to discuss.
Sure, you can. We're all friends here.
Mhm.
Hey, come
We
on.
promise we won't snitch. I mean, we don't even know who's on the council. Who are we gonna tell, huh?
Puddles, would you please make me a persuasion test with advantage?
How do I roll with advantage? Just
Roll
do
it,
on
and then you'll
ourselves?
take the better number. I just want to establish it before you roll. Okay, 14.
Okay.
It's not bad.
Not bad, not great.
Yeah.
Oof. How far from the hot springs are we getting?
I think you haven't been traveling too long. Probably only like half an hour. If that, at this point. Puddles, was it?
Puddles. Been living out here a long time. We don't want any grumpy, icky blobs. It's not fun for anybody.
Understandable. I don't know what caused Jiraga to leave specifically, but it sounds like you're aware of them, and they're transmutational magics. Doesn't take much to look at what we saw and realize that they were exploring some unsavory subjects.
I think we might have met at like a frat party one time, back when I was a young turtle. But mostly just heard about that they're publishing a bunch of stuff from people who were passing by. The wizards are surprisingly chatty when they come by. You relax in a nice hot spring.
Well,
anyway,
I hope to get
I'm sure that we'll work it all out when we meet them.
I hope so. I hope so, Puddles. Todd, would you like to wander in now? Does that feel like a good moment?
Absolutely.
Go, please.
Absolutely.
You have the floor.
So as they're going along, the first thing I think if it's appropriate with Darcy, would this be a place where we might find a small audience, locals somewhere near?
Not really. We are off so there's sort of a main road that connects this sort of small fishing village with a large bustling city, and our hot springs, our titular hot springs, are sort of halfway between those two, and that's kind of like the only rest stop for most people. Now, some people do cut through forests to go to other places, and they do camp, but generally speaking, outside of the roads is considered dangerous. There are, giant D&D style creatures that aren't really appropriate to being simply wandered past. But it does happen.
All right. So you would probably hear me before you see me. You hear the ding, 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 as a string breaks and a couple of curses. It actually, for a second, you're maybe a little worried because you hear some guttural swearing. Anyone who speaks Goblin?
I don't know what Goblin would be in this setting. Because there wouldn't be a direct Goblin analog. The general normal races of D&D don't exist. There's no humans, there's no orcs, there's no elves. So Goblins probably wouldn't either. But I do kind of like the idea of sort of smaller, more, well, actually, you tell me what you're thinking tonally, and we can find something that matches that.
Just swearing in another language than the rest of the people would understand, and you get the impression it is not one of the more friendly speeches of peoples that you've heard in the world.
What about something reptilian or amphibian?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that sounds appropriate.
I know scale folk. Could use scale folk because I'm a turtle.
Yeah, I definitely. Anyway, you hear that for a moment, and you maybe brace yourself as you're wondering who is this just around the bend, and then as you take a peek, you see a fluffy gray furred bunny with long ears, wearing traveling type gear, leather jerkin and so forth. And a big traveling pack on the ground next to him. And he's busy tuning up a lute and busy trying to replace the recently broken string, and kind of humming and kind of making up a song and muttering out loud to himself. What rhymes with cabbage? Babbage? Labbit? Oh, hello.
Hello there.
He is smallish for a bunny. More bunny folk than rabbit folk.
Good to know. Hello there, traveler.
Well met.
You're out far from the road.
Oh, well, seemed like a good place to catch a bit of rest.
I feel like we see
look.
Aldrin kind of like step forward in a way that is largely just kind of putting them between you and the trail of slime, which is not doing a very good job at actually stopping you from seeing it, and probably even drew your attention to it. So just to like be clear what you're seeing, at this point it's probably grown rather thin, but it is this like thin film of like a rainbowy fluid that is on the undergrowth and grass of the forest floor.
Good sir, perhaps you can help me. What rhymes with smells like cabbage? It's on the tip of my tongue. And you can see he's got a quill and like a scroll case is open. There's a bit of parchment with some writing on it, and at the top it's "Tale of the Slime Trail" in pretty clear writing.
Perhaps you split cabbage into like lab aged.
Cabbage. Ooh, that's good. That's good.
I don't know if that makes any sense, but anyway, no, sorry.
Doesn't need to make sense. Just has to be said or sung with feeling.
All right then. Well,
Smells like cabbage.
we don't have
Yells
time
like
to do this,
cabbage.
unfortunately. In a hurry here. I hope you make your. And I think that like Aldrin like looks around. Like it is dark. It is night. It is late. And we are very. I mean, at least half an hour walk.
I was just about to make a camp if you want to share a fire.
No time, unfortunately. But perhaps you should. Well, You see Aldrin doing the like mental arithmetic of like, is it safer for this person to come with us into danger or to be alone in the woods?
At this point, he might have noticed that amongst the gear, not currently on, but there is a short sword and a crossbow kind of piled amongst the rest of the gear.
Sure.
So this person does not look like they're unarmed.
Wow.
Or this rabbit, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Were you headed to the hot spring?
I
Where's
am
the
headed
first song?
wherever danger may be, where people might find inspiration to make glorious tales, and where they could benefit
you're in the wrong
from
place
them.
then. There's no
Oh.
danger here. That's why we live out here with the hot spring. It's very lovely.
That's not what I heard over in Brooksville. They said that out amongst the wilds are creatures and oh, well, that's a shame.
What are they talking about? My hot springs are the best and so safe and a lovely place. How dare they slander it like this?
We must
Well,
be moving on.
Aw, I thought Brooksdale was nice. Why are they being
Well,
mean to
It
us?
seemed nice but boring.
These people rarely leave their town. They don't know any better. And be fair, friends, it can be dangerous out here.
I'm sorry, I'm being rude. My name is Warren.
Puddle!
Yes, manners must be observed. I am Flynn Proudtail. Pleased to meet you.
Well, nice to meet you too.
Aldrin,
Oh, yeah.
and we must be going. I wish you
Okay,
safety.
by the way.
And Aldrin will turn.
You should come with
they
us.
do say safety in numbers.
Feel free to
You
follow
can see
along.
his ears kind of perking up a little.
following the
Good.
slime trail.
Yeah, that's exactly what got me this far.
Got you.
Yeah,
You've been
there was
following
like a gooey, slimy monster, and it was
Huh?
making our hot spring all dirty. So we're just gonna try and make sure that it
I
all
was
stays
wondering
nice
what
and
caused
clean.
it. I found it when I came across country and was wondering if it was something kind of interesting anyway. It stuck to my shoe and smelled fiercely. But good to know. That sounds kind of. You know what? I'll go grab my gear and start buckling the sword belt and putting on the pack.
Just to be
Hey,
clear,
Aldrin, this looks like a handy person. You should hire him for the council so that they can clean up the problem with their wizard that went rogue or whatever. Wouldn't that be a great idea?
Quite. What were you saying,
Yeah.
Bianca?
Okay, good. How much are you gonna pay him?
What were you saying, Bianca?
I just wanted to be clear about orientation. So we were walking in one direction along this slime trail, and Warren came from the other direction, I'm guessing. So they were just about to get to the hot spring.
I probably was traveling the same way, but came a bit more across country. I wasn't thinking I'm coming from where you've been or
No,
where you're
you were
going.
coming in the other direction. Like you were like if we were following the slime trail north away from the hot spring, you were following it south when you stopped for a rest.
Sure, I can do that.
Like that's
I think probably you like spotted it from a distance. Like the way it caught in the light, you saw the rainbow sheen of it, and you came to investigate. So you probably
I
came
thought maybe
more
it had something to
like
do with.
laterally, like perpendicularly.
Yeah, I was kind of figuring I was cutting across the cross country and then stumbled upon it
Mhm.
perpendicular kind of.
right, and then you just kind of stopped at it. You didn't.
Yeah, probably followed it a
Oh,
bit and then stopped for a rest.
okay. If you had been following it, Flynn had questions. That's why I'm asking for the details. That's all. But good. Carry on.
Well, if it's all the same with you, I'd just as soon tag along. I can, I know a few tricks up my sleeve, and I generally try to stay out of trouble.
Sounds good. Keep an eye out if anyone spots anything.
Oh,
We might need to start approaching. Well, if you see anything of interest, we might need to approach silently. Until
okay,
then,
if you got a problem, just hide behind my shell. That's what it's for.
Silently. All right, I can do that. Tuning up his lute. Sneak, sneak, sneak.
Oh, sneak rhymes with peak.
That's
I like
good.
to imagine that we've been walking and talking this time during this.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Like Aldrin probably was just like, cool, well, if you want to come, come, otherwise bye, and just like walked off. And
Yeah.
since then we've been following.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm literally the embodiment of an enthusiastic little bunny trying to keep up with the larger being.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Very good. I imagine, punctuated with whatever was last said. Actually, I don't know. If anyone's looking ahead, like, I don't want to say Aldrin does everything. I don't want this to end up being a GMPC who just does everything. But probably at least Flynn will notice that if tracking the trail ahead, as you look through the darkness, you notice a small light in the distance that after a second you realize is a like still burning ember in a fire pit.
Oh.
In the dark it's a little hard to make out, but as your eyes adjust and as you get closer, you realize that you are coming to a sort of hastily torn down campsite. There's like a sort of half knocked down tent that's not like properly put away, or I mean, it's still here, but isn't just left up either. And you of course see the fire pit with sort of a couple of still burning embers in it, as well as probably the most disturbing part. And I don't want to fast forward you too much because I don't know how close you're getting or how much you're seeing from how much of a distance, or if you want to approach stealthily, all that stuff. But it's large enough that I think you notice it from a distance, some large cauldron type pot that is sort of like offset, like it clearly was at one point, heated on the fire, but is now sort of set like next to the fire, I guess, so you can still see the pit where it was.
Okay.
Which one of the people I just met seemed to be the most sneaky?
That would be Cass. You realize this
yeah.
because you take a second to look around and go, wait a minute, did I even see Cass? Like, you almost forgot her introducing herself. She's that subtle.
All right. So if they will allow, I will kind of give them a little, like, basically the rabbit equivalent of the wink in the gun, and then motion that I'm making a shh symbol with my fingers. But I'm actually casting guidance at a distance because that's what I bard. I'm the bard flavor that can. So you get a D4.
What is
nice. I love a D4.
What's the flavor for that? Like, whenever you have a class feature that lets you do something special, usually there's some additional detail to it that makes it unique to you instead of just, I'm very good at this.
You hear when I do the motion and kind of make eye contact, it's almost like you hear these whispers just around the edge of your perception, like not disturbing ones, but almost like and it appears or sounds different for each person who receives it, but you almost get this little flash of your favorite story, like an adventure tale. If you were take a real world example, if you were a Star Wars fan, you'd like hear the music in the back of your mind, like almost like a recall of memory, just whispering past you, and like maybe a couple of like, I failed you, or whatever the callback of the story is. And it's just super subtle behind the scenes. It's called Guiding Whispers.
Oh,
Okay.
cool.
So you get a D4.
Bad feeling.
Yay. What am I I guess do you know like Thieves Can't?
I will allow you to know Thieves Can't if you want to spend a language on that, Todd.
Maybe I'd take that instead of Goblin.
Do you only know the one other language?
Well, yes, but I am also criminal background, so it depends on how you do.
That's appropriate, and you could easily have been swearing in some Thieves Can't-y swears. Those definitely exist.
Yeah. Like, or I had this idea of like
Broken
Thieves Can't in this world being like cat mafia. Noble cats don't speak it because it's considered, I don't know, rude.
I definitely know. I catch your meaning, but I don't know that I'll let on that I catch your meaning. Maybe I do. Yeah. I'll give a little nod and just a half. It's like third translation because I'm part of the bunny mafia.
Can't do you understand Thieves Can't? Totally. Yeah, that's always the first one you know.
Yeah.
I'll twitch my nose and then I'll give the little nod and sign back.
All right, so I guess I'll sign. I want to sign. What's your plan?
I just literally shrug and just make the motion pan and point towards the cauldron.
Aldrin has thrown out a wing as you got close enough that everyone sort of could start making out the vague shapes in the darkness of what's happening in the camp, and starts to whisper, just we don't know what's down there.
I'm gonna quietly
approach.
Hopefully, without noticing, I want to sidle off into the darkness and go around and go out ahead, kind of I'm not gonna just walk up ahead of him and ignore his wing, but I want to kind of go out ahead and kind of
Yeah, you slip off the side and circle around being ahead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. I'm not going to ask you to roll until it becomes relevant, so that we don't have like a bunch of floating rolls that end up not being contested ever. So, just you managed to do that. I think that's fine. Aldrin is mostly looking forward and just sort of like, what was that?
That was probably my chair.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Also, Aldrin's just sort of looking forward and has the wing out, just like, okay, wait for a second, and after had saying what you heard him say previously about, let's approach quietly in case there's something there, begins to, I think actually like probably takes flight just like so that they can glide in quietly. And you are all free to approach as you wish. I think very clearly Warren sees Cass split off. I don't know if anyone else does or not.
And then can't see anything because I don't see in the dark that well.
It's not like, it's dark enough that everyone's going, it's dark, but not so dark that people are going to be like attacking at disadvantage or anything. Unless you like straight up don't notice somebody. That is different. But anyway.
Yeah.
Can I make it less dark?
Is that right?
Sorry, Winston, you were just saying, can I make it less dark? You could. I feel like your instinct wouldn't be to do that, just because like Aldrin has called for a stealthy approach, which that would put a beacon on you as a group. But you totally could. That is a thought that occurs to you, and you may do as you wish.
I think I'm gonna slowly shuffle in front of the smaller folks, just because I'm big and in case something like springs up.
Yeah, I like the image that. So we saw Aldrin sort of took flight and then starts gliding in slowly. Everyone else is maybe approaching forward, but is not as confident with their stealth, so they are moving slowly. But we're going to cut over to Cass, who I think your ability with stealth means that you can basically move faster while sneaking. So you'll get in closest, fastest.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So
So do I see anything?
Yes, as you approach, you start to like make out more details. You see what you saw before about like there's this sort of like half fallen down tent. There's the fire pit that was been sort of stamped out quickly, and you see the cauldron, and you realize that it is not simply an empty cauldron as you might have expected. Let's find a picture and drop it into play. Don't click on that. Okay. You see a number of, unpleasantness pouring out the top. Basically more of what you saw earlier, but crammed into a cauldron, all different heads trying to push out. You also see that the base of the cauldron isn't just sitting on the ground, it is in a collected mass of this sticky substance that was either all over or made out of the previous creature that you saw.
Okay.
Yes. So as you get closer, you are, hearing.
Would it be reasonable to think that like things have been crawling out of this? Are there slime trails around? I guess is what I'm asking. Like, have things been crawling out of this thing and around places and to different places?
Yes. That's very good. Eye picks that up in the darkness. You see at least 2 other trails petering off of the base here. This sort of cauldron of grossness. To be clear, to describe it so that we're all picturing the same thing. You are seeing these different sort of like animal heads pressing out of the cauldron's mouth with arms and tails. The heads are multicolored and mismatched. They are wet and dripping, as if their flesh is melting off of their bodies as they hang there. The ground
Okay,
around it is sticky. I mean, presumably, it's a thicker. It's not these like thin trails. It's this like thick bubbling mass of it. And as you approach, you are hearing more of that distressing noises of torturous life existence.
Okay, before I do anything, I would like to, still trying to be outside of Aldrin, like look into like places like the tent or anywhere else that might have any notes or any thing like that.
Yes, you're able to
Like,
sort of circle around the side of the camp. You do see that sort of make the perimeter and see there's only really this one main tent. And I'd say it's not like within the sort of like sticky area that I was describing before, but it's not too far from it. You could maybe you try and like pick up the flap and go in from the back. Maybe if that makes sense.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, so you sort of walk into there, and that sort of once you're in the tent, you're sort of the sounds that you were hearing were more muffled through the fabric.
Yeah. So yeah, can you look around to find anything like about who was here or anything like that? Or I guess like what I'd be really interested in, like any kind of arcane notes or like any kind of thing that describes like what has been done here.
Yeah, so I think that you sort of get under this flap, and what to others would be suddenly pitch darkness, you are able to see, right? You have cat eyes, after all.
Yeah,
believe
I
you
have
pick
night
up
vision.
all
Yeah.
those pinpricks of light that are getting in from elsewhere are amplified in your eyes, and you're able to make out this sort of what is clearly like hastily picked up parchments and stuff. They're
Yeah.
because you are seeing, scraps or one or two pages on the ground, but otherwise, it looks like someone hurriedly gathered up their research and mistakenly left behind a page or two.
Okay, I'm gonna not. I don't think now's really the time to read them, but I'm gonna take them and like hide them in like a satchel.
I think you can quickly scoop them up. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I was gonna say like you're probably gonna need some time to like investigate the scene to really get everything, but if you're just scooping up the pages, that works well. Everyone else, how are you doing, and how is your approach? Let's start with Winston. Winston, you have been very like, personally affected by this. You feel very motivated to figure out the situation and deal with it, as it's very close to you personally. How are you?
I wonder.
Please.
I wonder if I can roll for detect magic and see if there's any trace of similar magic that I sense back at the spring.
Sure. So detect magic is a spell. You can cast that spell. It will take one of your spell slots at first level. There's no actual roll required. You're simply going to open up your senses. Please describe the way you take in the magical surroundings of yourself.
I'm gonna close my eyes and I'm gonna kind of lay down on the ground and sort of just like feel the vibrations in the earth, sort of like sense the smell. And it's a very like quiet thing, and people are like, "Oh, what are you like doing? Are you like a rock or something?" But really, he's just like trying to sense everything.
Okay. Yeah. You start to pick up on the frequency of magic in the area, right? It does translate to you like feeling vibrations in the earth, but it is this completely extra sense that is unlike what others can feel. You are feeling the magical residue of the trail you were following, and you find that I think the camp is outside of the range that you have with this, so you've activated it ahead of time, and now you can approach with your senses aware. If anything approached you within like 30 feet, you would notice it, and I suppose I don't think detect magic lets you just know if someone has magical ability. It has to be the actual like active magic itself, or magical residue like this trail is. So you wouldn't like read Puddle's innate magic probably, despite it being this like well of magic himself. I don't think that's exactly how detect magic would function in this situation. Same with anyone else who's a magic user, which is I think everyone. Relieve everyone in the
IV
party.
is a very magic heavy system.
Yes, yeah, it just wants to give everyone magic. But yeah, you're feeling the trail. You are owed a school of magic, and you are feeling the residual energy of the transmutational magic that created this thing. Other than that, I don't think that you are. It's not like active magic. It's not like there is a spell happening or anything. It is simply the residual magic of the creation of the creatures that you were followed, of the trail you followed. But yes, you are feeling on the edges of your perception that you would need to get closer to the camp if you wanted to actually feel that magical, if anything is happening in the camp itself.
So Winston probably wonders if that creature that we saw at the hot spring was created at that spot. And maybe he sort of whispers his theory to everyone else.
Okay. I imagine that you approach the camp with following after Aldrin, maybe or maybe not noticing Cass's disappearance, but that sounds like that was taking a second to like breathe in the space and not immediately go. So probably Aldrin is going to reach the camp first. I think Cass, you quickly like grabbed up those papers. Do you want to stay in the area a bit longer to sort of like assess the camp and investigate a bit, or do you want to like pop back out and rejoin everybody before they know you're missing?
If I can, if I can pop back out and rejoin a area before they notice I'm missing, I'd like to do that.
Okay, so we see you slip out the back of the camp, back of the tent, I mean, and you see silently gliding, not making a sound, Aldrin. Or at least their silhouette in the darkness, coming down to land near the outside of the camp. If you want to make a stealth roll, or you can, wave over to them either way.
All right, I like to make a stealth roll, so
Please.
Can I get my d4s for this?
You can.
Okay. Do I decide before or after I roll?
I think technically it is the next time you roll.
Okay.
But even if you chose to like save it, you're probably not going to make another test before the duration ends anyway.
That makes sense.
So
yeah.
You should use it here. Yeah.
All right. So we'll see. I'm gonna do stealth.
Yep, that makes sense. That's a rogue.
Well,
That's the thing I'm good at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'll the d4 is gonna be one or more. So yeah.
Yeah.
So it's, yeah.
Would you like to roll it just to flex?
Yeah, sure.
So
just
so
dash
clear,
R. Yeah, sure.
Great.
All
So
right, 22.
you get a 22 total.
Shadow on the wing.
Very good.
Yeah.
So just so
Good
we're
job.
clear, Cass like snuck ahead
Yes.
and investigated the cauldron before we got to it. Now we're just
She
coming up
didn't
to
make
it
it to the cauldron exactly. She was able to get a visual on it and notice like what was happening in the cauldron, but I don't think she got within like.
But
Hmm?
Okay, so now we're arriving at the scene that she saw earlier, but we didn't know it.
Well,
Like we didn't know that she'd been there already.
yes, basically. I don't know if you've. I don't even know if you've started approaching. You haven't told me that, but Aldrin arrives first and doesn't notice as Cass slips back behind Aldrin. Aldrin, I think, does sort
I
of
thought we
like
got there.
land down at the edges of the camp and look like Cass to look back to see if you're all following. So
Yeah. And from his perspective, we all were all the time.
does everyone agree with that?
Yeah. Although along the way,
Enjoy.
I would like to spend a bardic inspiration, just see what I get. Is that okay?
Okay, go for it. So, you want to explain
And it's
this
a
to everyone?
D6. So I will basically describe it a little bit. I recall I opened my mind and I clutched this little thing around a necklace, and anyone with pretty decent perception probably sees it's a rabbit's foot, like clearly a dead rabbit, like bones are sticking out at the end.
It's a big foot.
Rabbit's foot clutching a tiny little crystal, and it's on a chain around my neck, and I pull it out and I kind of hum. You can just quiet humming under my breath of like, and then. So I'm getting the story queued up in my mind of what it's going to be.
Yeah,
I believe
like
it's a
the Mission Impossible thing?
D6. Kind of, yeah. Well, we'll see what I roll. It's a D6 for bardic inspiration right now. So I will roll that.
So this is a
I
special
got a
ability
3.
from your subclass that allows you to
Yeah.
roll on a table.
Oh.
And the table gets more items on it as you get a larger bardic inspiration die. I think it's a really clever usage of the growing die size system. Number 3.
And that's
You don't have
so
to
I
share it
recall. Do you want me to
immediately.
tell it? I'll
You
tell
can
it.
if you
I'm
wish.
actually going to spend it right away.
Oh, then
And I'm
please
going to
do.
say, so I kind of gather those whispers around me and I begin to tell a tale. And it's actually not my tale. It's somebody in this group, a person that I'm going to target with this ability. So it's a tale of beloved friends. And I really only just mention it, and then it comes to mind of that person who's going to be the target. And then they get to share it when they choose. And you don't have to make it up if you don't want to, or you can. But I spend an action to bestow it as well. So bonus action to recall it, and then action to share it. So it's tale of beloved friends, the target, and another creature of its choice it can see within 5 feet. Gain temporary hit points equal to the roll of my bardic inspiration dice plus my charisma modifier. So I'm going to look around at these people. And you know what? The capybara, I'm always mispronounce that, I'm sorry, seem pretty protective. So I'm going to turn to Winston and say, this reminds me of that tale. And you recall this, and when you're ready, you can share it, the ability to give temp hit points to yourself and one other. You get to choose who.
Who's the closest besides us to the area?
Aldrin would be like a few steps ahead of you, assuming you've all like approached.
This is on the way down as quietly as possible, but
Yeah.
a little back when I can still talk.
I'd like to give Aldrin some protection. And
Sure
I'm
thing.
gonna constantly check behind me to see everyone else where they are. And I
You
keep
and Aldrin did
motioning
seem pretty
to
close.
stay behind me.
All right, so you and Aldrin both get 7 temporary hit points.
Very good.
Hey,
Mocha, for you, there is a spot on your sheet to add temporary hit points. Basically, they're just hit points above your max hit points, and they go away first when you take damage, but they don't come back for healing because they're not real. They're above your max. Yeah. As you approach, you all start to get close enough that you do make out what Cass saw earlier. In the light of the stars and the fireflies, the oversized large fireflies, you make out the general silhouettes of the tent that we saw earlier and the cauldron, but you also see that the cauldron is plastered in this thick, like thick gooey substance, very different than the actual like thin trails you were seeing before. It extends out in every direction, a good 10 feet on either side of, or on every side of the cauldron, just like completely coating the ground. And you of course see this many different deformed heads with jaws inside jaws, with eyes cropping up on places they shouldn't be, with arms, and claws and tails dripping this gooey substance, or falling off into that substance.
Yeah.
It
I
seems
think
to
I
be, gurgling and choking, in its the utterances that you're hearing, but it doesn't seem to be moving, or well, I won't say that it doesn't seem to be aggressive. It doesn't seem to be, lashing wildly or anything. It's just kind of like struggling stuck in this cauldron. And you do see the rainbow sheen as the what little bits of light glint off of its sort of wet surfaces. What were we saying, Cass?
I think I would like to start off Winston and be like, hey, do you know how to start a fire like really fast?
A fire? Yes. Give me a second. And can Winston do...
And I have one of these. I'll pull out my lantern. It's not lit.
Sure.
Oh.
Aldrin will look.
I mean, I guess I'm motioning towards the campfire, which still might be usable.
Yeah, very much. You see the remnants of the embers.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to cast Produce Flame, please do. Just off of what you said, you don't really need to even cast it, because that casting is assuming you're throwing it at someone to do an attack roll. But I guess if you want to summon the fire in your hands and then throw it at the fire to light it, that roll is perfectly reasonable to make sure you're actually hitting, which is completely ridiculously high what you've rolled. But I think in response to hearing this, Aldrin looks back at you and will probably say something like, we need to figure out where Jaraga went, how this came to be. Yes, we need to put a stop to it, but that's not exactly our... And then you, please describe the casting of Produce Flame for me.
I think he sort of stomps the ground with his front hoof thing, and then the flame just kind of appears at wherever he mentally projects it as.
Oh, cool. Yeah, Produce Flame lets you, summon them into your hands, and then you can, hold it as a torch, kind of. But most of the time you throw it anyway, so I do like the idea that you just sort of stomp and it, spits out from the ground at the location, or juts up from the floor as the tremors reach your destination. I think that works perfectly well. So yeah, the fire just lights up in the small little fire pit. Now, I do hope that I was clear before when I said that the fire pit is not the cauldron's not on the fire pit, right? It's sort of crooked off to the side.
I guess Cass's father's knocking it into the fire pit.
Sure. Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, you see the fire light up, and suddenly it is there is a campfire suddenly. Everyone sort of squints as they're as their eyes adapted for the darkness suddenly get a blast of light in them. And after
we were showing the creature itself, the creatures, I guess, plural, question mark. Do they react to the fire at all?
I think they do. Yeah, I think as the sort of burst of flame that then settles into a natural fire, they sort of blink back from the light of it. The sort of guttural noises amplifying for a moment. After the initial impact of it, you see they're sort of clawing at it and sort of pulling away from it, but still absolutely stuck in this cauldron that is just grafted to the ground by this substance.
Yeah.
If anyone else was here, they know we're here now, or at least something that happened.
I don't know. I think that they left already.
Yes, once they're watching. See the several trails petering off. Don't know if that's a lead or not. It's a rat.
Well, definitely to another one of those.
likely. Yes, Bianca.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think while everyone else was setting up the fire and kind of like poking around, Flynn's been kind of wandering the perimeter
Okay.
a little bit,
Nice.
and I'd like to roll a perception check just to see if there's anything specific that I find.
Great.
Pretty good. Ooh.
Roll an 18 on your perception check. As you walk the perimeter, you obviously notice the sound of the creature itself. You are past the edge of anything that is mentally straining. As you ran into one of these before, you assume approaching it would not be great. But you hear it. It sounds, as you remember, more amplified. There feel like there's more voices, but not in a way that is reaching your mind, if you will. But you do pick up on a gurgling river that's not too far away. Probably whoever set up camp here was using it as like a water source. That's what they would have done if they were makes sense to be camping near that. And probably you even like go, oh yeah, of course, I guess we're there, right? You maybe weren't exactly sure, how far you've traveled, but you, upon hearing it, are like, oh yeah, I know that river, right? If you want to name it, go for it, but I don't have anything prepared for that. But yeah, I think that's probably about all that stands out to you, unless you have any specific questions.
Yeah, well, I think some things that occurred to me would be like how many of these trails are stemming out of the camp, and are any of them more or less fresh than any others?
Ooh, that is a good question. I think
also, are there any are there any trails that aren't this like gross rainbow stuff? Like, are there any signs of like footprints or anything like that?
Okay. Initially, you see the sort of 2 additional trails, so 3 total, that Cass saw earlier. I think you noticed that the one you were following seems the freshest. I'm not exactly sure how you determined that, but the other ones seem like they're becoming more of a thin film than the one you were following. So likely
kind of like starting to evaporate.
Longer. Yeah.
It smells more like cabbage.
You do. I'm not sure with just like a simple perception test. I think you have enough time that you can say that like, yeah, you did take a second to like really get a look. But only from like the perimeter. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to make anything out. Well, let me think about that for a second. Because if you got right into the midst of it, you might, any footprints would probably get like cluttered up with other footprints. So it wouldn't be a big deal if anyone was sort of coming and going multiple times. You probably do see a number of tracks back and forth to that river that, off in the direction of where you heard the river coming from. That would make sense.
Right.
But yeah, I think I'm going to say, like, you rolled quite well. It makes sense to me that you noticed, like, whoever left this place did leave in a hurry, and so there is a sort of stamping of activity, trying to buy the tent and then sort of back out towards, which you can't really tell exactly if this is where they went or if it's just that there's a lot of activity towards the river because they traveled that way multiple times.
Okay. Am I able to make out, like, is it just a bit of a trail or are there actual footprints? And, like, can I tell what race they are?
I don't think there's, like, identifiable footprints exactly. There's just the, like mess of trample. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Exactly. But for my picturing of all this, so you sort of like make a perimeter and then pick up on details. You maybe make a full loop and meet back up with everyone who, other than the lighting of the fire, I don't believe has made any immediate actions. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Hey, what's that weird pot that... And then this curious bunny starts to approach the rainbow disgusting pile, unless somebody wants to stop him.
And I think I say like, Warren, are you sure about that? I think I physically stop you, but I do like kind of like.
Yeah, I think
Say-
Aldrin probably also wants to stop you. That would make sense. I can't
Yeah.
have them.
Okay, I don't push past them or anything. I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh, I just didn't
again,
know.
like throws out a wing again and just stand back. We're still figuring out exactly what this stuff is. Puts the wing back down. Honestly, I'm not sure how to proceed from here. If we could get some sort of really
It looks like
find
the
Jiraga.
same thing as before.
Yeah. I think Aldrin actually will start taking a step forward if no one else does first. And they want to make their way over to the tent. Now, when Cass went to the tent, she sort of slipped in through the back, lifting the flap, whereas Aldrin goes to approach from, like, the front. Now, this doesn't go as far as the sort of, like, 10-foot circle of goop that is spilling out from the cauldron. It's not sit that close to the cauldron, but they do need to get closer to the cauldron than Cass had to. And you'll all notice a very familiar thing happen to our good friend Aldrin. This time, it's worth noting, last time when you saw Aldrin approach the creature, they got pretty close before they started clutching their head and falling to their knees. Not so much this time. At a pretty good distance, about twice as far away as the like a aura of filth. I don't know what to call it. I'm gonna keep making up stupid phrases. About twice as far away from the cauldron as that reaches out to. On their way to the front.
What's
of the
wrong?
tent. They wrap their head in their wings. And I need to make a saving throw.
What's wrong?
What do we have? Okay. As they put their hands over their wings over their head, you hear them sort of breathe deep and then let them down. It's all right. It's much worse than the last one, though. Be careful, and we'll duck into the tent.
You think? I don't know. I just feel they don't look very happy. I think we should just put it in the fire and just end it right here.
Put the cauldron in the fire? How are we going to get close enough to it?
I mean,
I could. Hey, hold on a sec. I go digging through my pack. I pull out a flask of oil. I mean, we could bring the fire to the cauldron.
That's a thought.
I guess that makes sense.
Good idea.
Darcy,
Yes.
I'm curious if Flynn has heard anything in his traveling around the land recently about creatures going missing more than usual.
I like your line of thinking. I want you to tell me. I want you to tell me what you've heard.
Do you want me to roll anything for it?
No, I just want you to tell me what you heard. If you want, you can roll, and then you can decide what you've heard. But I'd like you to tell me.
Interesting. Okay. I hadn't thought about it. So
I got a thought.
I think
I think I like your instincts, and I think probably where you're thinking is correct. I'm just never sure, like, how those stories circulate, so I'm curious, like, what you heard, right?
Sure, yeah. So Flynn's kind of looking at the cauldron, like, kind of judging their options for potentially destroying this poor monstrosity.
Mm-hmm.
And the shape of one of the heads catches his eye, and it looks kind of like, is lupine the right word for foxes?
Yeah.
That's wolves. Wait, no,
Oh, sorry. No, I thought you said wolves. Yeah, it's wolf.
Oh no, I meant foxes. Well, wolves would be fine too.
Fox is like,
Um,
I don't know,
Foxes
like Volkson or something. I'm not
would
sure.
have a lupine look to them.
Well, anyway, it looks. They're one of the heads in the cauldron looks vaguely fox shaped.
Sure.
Yeah, it's sort of full pine. Yeah.
Volpine.
Yeah,
that
okay.
sounds right. Yeah.
Vulpine. And it triggers a memory. It's so a few weeks ago, Flynn had been at just this tiny little town, tiny little inn, or maybe not even an inn, maybe just like a little tavern. And just listening to the local rumor mill and catching up on the gossip and just visiting with the people, and had heard that a farmer had gone missing recently, and it was kind of a big deal because this farmer's family had been in the area for generations, and then all of a sudden this farmer just disappeared, and their family was like pretty worried. And naturally, as it's kind of Flynn's job, he went out looking for him and never did find anything, but that kind of connected, like remembering this connects the dots for him, that over the last, I don't know, you can tweak this later, but I'm gonna say like 3 or 4 months maybe.
Sure.
He'd been hearing more stories of people going missing than normal. And he hadn't really thought much of it because he travels a fairly wide distance on a regular basis, and people come and go. But it did seem odd to him that he'd been hearing more stories recently. Just
you
like,
can't help but think about that.
yeah. B, I'm curious what your idea was too, though.
My idea. I mean, my idea was just like to push the cauldron into where the fire is.
Oh, I thought you meant about my question for missing people.
Oh no! I said I just was joking about how you're on the spot now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I possibly throw another flame, like aim it at the cauldron, but I'm honestly not sure how this thing will react.
Yeah. I think like
Yeah,
even though like
where
Cass
you
has
fire?
verbally like said maybe we should destroy it, she hasn't made any motions to like do that,
Right.
and seems a little hesitant herself.
What were you saying?
Yeah,
Chris?
where's the fire?
So there's
I'm
like,
asking where the
if you
fire
look
is.
at, if you just picture a campsite with a like little fire pit in the middle and then a tent off to the side, it would be the middle. The cauldron is sort of more like is next to the fire pit, but it's almost like it fell off of it and sort of is like, it's still like kind of upright, but it was like taken off the fire, right? Like you might make a soup and then say, I need to take this off the fire so it stops overcooking, right? So it's just like it's nearby.
Okay.
It's like right next to, a few feet away, if that.
I say, so do we want to burn up the stuff?
Guess it would be best.
You do recall that
I
working
mean-
quite well the last time. The final hit of Firebolt from Puddles basically rendered it to ash.
I mean, should we
Um,
say something? They're like dead animal folk, right?
Well,
Well, they're
Oh, I don't know.
folk.
do you I guess Cass will call it. Do you hear us? Like try I guess try to get some reaction.
I think you
From
hear
them?
Aldrin call out from in the tent, like, keep it down.
Okay.
But that's about it.
Please.
And actually, at that point, I think Aldrin comes out the front of the tent again and brushes
Whoa.
aside the sounds once more and makes their way back to where you are, sort of grumbling under their breath. There's nothing in
What
there.
are you rolling?
I'm rolling a roll like anyone else would. What do you mean?
You
Okay.
rolled 2 20s.
Well, yeah, I just rolled really well because I'm
But I
very
don't know
good at
what
D&D.
to do. But I don't know what to do. Like, what did you roll it for?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So they came.
That
out
was
the
the
front
other
of tent
save.
Again. They made another save.
Save.
As they walked through it again, and they.
So I want to...
But yeah, they're coming back to you, like, again, sort of like holding their head, because, like, you know, it's still like it didn't affect them, but it did, like, they felt it, right? They get back and they go, "There's nothing in the tent, completely empty."
I want to position myself so that the cauldron is between me and the fire,
Mm-hmm.
keeping my distance.
Okay.
And then I'll say, okay, everybody stand back. And then I'm going to cast Thunderwave to try to push it into the fire.
Ooh. Thunderwave is, like, it extends from you, right? It's not like you drop it somewhere. It's not like a fireball.
Yeah, or it
thank you
has
for that.
the text
Thunderwave.
block.
So 15-foot cube.
It's a 15-foot.
Which comes out from you. Yes, it's still 15 feet.
Yeah, it's like a 15-foot cone.
You gotta get close.
So you'd have to be within
Pushes things
15
to
feet of
10
it. Now the
But,
goo that's
yeah,
coming
I-
out from it extends 10 feet, so you don't have to step into that. But you would have to get closer.
Well, I get close enough to hit it with Thunderwave.
Okay. As you approach, you start to hear the gurgling noises of these sort of throaty, dying sounds.
It's really good.
It was.
I kind of scrunch up my nose. Like, oh, that's kind of gross.
I need you to make me a wisdom saving throw.
All right.
Okay.
Did you ever walk into it last time, Puddles?
No.
No. So you're hearing this kind of for the first time. Like you heard the sounds, but you didn't feel them hammering into your skull like last time. So you can't compare how this feels to previously, but you do feel the words beating into your skull, and very quickly you are overwhelmed by this shuddering feeling of it, the like despair and the incomprehensibility of the words and the sounds. There's something that's just, it's more than just a dying animal. It's the resonant voices, it's the frequencies of it, and I need you to roll a d8. I guess I could roll the d8. I'll roll a d8. You know what? I'm gonna do it.
Hey, you do it.
You
Psychic
fall
damage
to
or
your
something?
knees and
Turtle down.
can't.
Turtle down.
What did you say?
Actually, no, I misread. You pause as you start approaching. I should say you get within like about 20 feet when this happens. Like I said, about twice the distance of the goo peeling off. So not even close enough to cast your spell when this happens. And you feel this like deep primal urge to run. And you simply must. Now, you are overwhelmed by this and can't even really think about, do I wish to flee? Do I wish to run forward? And I'm gonna roll, what's the number for this?
12 on the clock.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's use a d12. Let's use a d12. So 12 would be straight forward towards the cauldron, and 6 would be straight away from the cauldron.
Oh God.
Okay, you flee. You flee out of the range of this thing. So
Do I
as
flee
you
like
saw,
right into a wall, or where do I? Like,
I don't
this
think
isn't a
so.
very
I'm
big
kind
room.
of picturing this. I could be very silly about it and have you run into the tent or something, but I don't think so. I think that you sort of wandered off away from the group to get close and do this Thunderwave.
Do you mind if I
Please.
instead do this?
Drawn to your shell.
Because I think this is more likely to be my like natural reaction to like to a fear
super enjoy
response.
that. I think that's a very good. Yes, you know what? I'm gonna say that. So as a turtle, actually, sorry. As a turtle, your gut instinct is to buckle down and get into your shell when posed by the situation. And while there's no special ability that's allowing you to sort of override this fear and react to this, I feel like it's super appropriate narratively, so I absolutely love the instinct.
I think that's just what the natural response would be.
Yeah, exactly, right? And I encourage everyone to think about what makes sense fictionally and not feel limited to the rules of the words of the rules. I didn't say that well. You know what I mean? So yeah, you know, stop, you know, what's the word? You brace your feet and clamber down into your shell. Everyone
Stop,
sees.
drop, and shell.
I think I do try to get out of the range a little bit, so I think I like jump back.
Yeah. But
after this hits me, I like kind of jump back and I like kind of roll onto the back of my shell.
Oh, that's not good.
And like roll up inside of it.
Oh.
Great. But well, I guess I should actually be with my belly down because that's a much safer thing for me.
That's a much safer thing.
That's more of a natural response. So I think I do like back up a little bit. I like sort of toddle back.
I think it's appropriate.
Whoa. And then like curl up inside my shell.
If narratively you like it that you jump back and fall backwards onto the back of your shell, that would work fine for you in the long run because Flynn's natural instinct is to dash over to you to help you. So he would right you.
Oh, no, I didn't mean that I didn't really care about the actual defensibility of it. I just meant that it doesn't make a lot of sense for my natural instinct to
make yourself
not
mobile.
involve me like being the right way up.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Slightly off topic, but has anyone ever seen Bert the Turtle duck and cover? The old 1950s and 60s.
Yes.
I saw the Iron Giant, and they have like something that a cartoon that is like that in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just picturing that.
Clamber onto the ground like a little potlet.
Yep, exactly. It's the same.
Well, I don't think we're going to be able to find any more information without dealing with that. And we see Eldrin sort of ready themselves,
going on?
Draw a rapier from their side. I think they had a rapier last time.
Yeah.
You might hear like kind of an echoey voice from inside the shelf, and we're like,
sorry, you just completely like ruined your mic there.
Clipped hard.
oh, I was trying to do a voice.
Yeah.
From inside the shell.
It was a good
It's
instinct.
really scary.
This game is creepy. Yeah. I'm gonna roll for initiative. I think initiative time. Aldrin is at least approaching to like fight, but yeah.
I think Flynn said they were going forward too.
Great.
Yeah, Flynn went running over to help Puddles, or just like would Puddles have jumped back far enough to be out of the sort of sphere of influence?
Yes, yeah, I'm happy to say
One way
that.
to find out.
Especially because technically they were supposed to run out of it anyway, so
Right, okay.
I'm not gonna have their like instinct be making things worse. That would not be great.
Flynn still goes over there.
So everyone please roll initiative if you should have a button on your sheet. Otherwise you can hit dex.
Wow.
Being prone affect initiative.
I don't think so. I could be wrong. It
That's
does not
weird.
come up very often.
Yeah.
It is entirely
put me at the
possible
end.
that it does, and I just have not been aware.
That's the second to have rolled this game.
If it's technically a dexterity saving throw, then
It's not a saving throw.
okay. Yeah, I have disadvantage on dexterity saving throws, being prone, but
Cool.
not for initiative, apparently.
You can end it whenever you feel is appropriate. Okay, so Winston, you see Aldrin start to move forward. Actually, I didn't roll for Aldrin. I probably should have. Oh well. You can supersede Aldrin if you wish, or you can wait and see what he does. But you do see him start to move, and you are the first to have the opportunity to react, let's say.
I'm wondering if I can sort of assist him in some way. Would Barkskin give him a bit more like endurance or something?
It would increase their armor class. I think it only really... Yeah, it should actually dramatically help their armor class, if that's what you want, and I'd be happy to sort of add some additional bark-like elements to it, just because that's more interesting than rules as written. So if you want to spend the spell slot to do that, I think you do need to sort of catch up with them and touch them to cast that spell. If I recall correctly, it's been a while. But tell me what that looks like, and we can jump off from there narratively.
I'm thinking maybe I touch like any area of them, and then you see sort of like the bark start to creep from where I touched, and then it slowly covers like all their limbs and the rest of their body.
Yeah, I feel like that would be kind of freaky. Luckily, they're used to wizards, so they're not gonna actually freak out. But you know, that's kind of a thing. Right? They start walking forward, and you sort of walk up and put a hand on like their arm or something, and they look back at you and they see it go over, and they sort of give you a nod, because I don't know, they're in like battle mode and they're not talking right now. But yes, okay, so their armor class counts as 16 now. I kind of like the idea of them having a little bit more endurance too. That wouldn't affect the whole like wisdom saving throw thing, but it might, if there was like a con save, I might give them advantage narratively. I feel like that's appropriate depending on the situation. So very interesting.
And I believe you, Winston, and Aldrin both have the temp HP.
That's true.
If that's
I
what you're
do.
choosing to share.
Yeah.
Oh, I do. Can I sort of approach like with him, just side by side?
Sure. Yeah, you lockstep with Aldrin. Aldrin seems to be marching straight up towards it. They will quickly step over that threshold. Do you wish to step over it with him?
Yes.
Okay. I need you to make me a wisdom saving throw, and I will make one as well. Very good. You save successfully.
And then some.
And so does Aldrin. You lock eyes. You feel the tail of the two friends, or whatever it was, friends to lovers, whatever the saying, whatever it was.
Beloved friends. Beloved friends. We are gathered here today to kick some.
And you walk forward into the range. As you continue to approach, Aldrin has drawn their rapier and takes a breath before walking into the muck that surrounds the cauldron. How does this work? I have not read this in a while. If you start your turn in the area...
That's going to be hard to wash out.
All right. Great. Yeah, they start to push through it, just and make it up to this creature and just lance into one of the multiple heads. We hear the like cry of the thing amplified for a moment as it pierces into it, but it does not stop making its choking, dying noises. Great. I believe that it makes most sense to jump over to Warren at this point.
All right. So Warren's seeing this go down is like, oh, okay. And I think I will be grabbing at my crossbow and getting it ready. Mm-hmm. But while I'm doing that and trying to like Nope, not that. Get the bolt. Okay, get it all ready. And then as I'm doing that, I just kind of look towards the thing, and I'm like, I will viciously mock the cauldron.
That seems kind of rude.
You're gonna have to tell me how what this is like.
So I'll look up at it and be like, I've seen more intimidating bowls of oatmeal.
Okay. And the way this magically functions, right? Like, this is not simply you being very good at insulting people. That probably wouldn't be very effective against something that looks like this. But there's a magic to your words. How do you get the magic into your words and affect their mind?
It kind of works a bit like and if you're paying really close attention, to be like this strange ripple, almost like a ripple in a pond, but through our narrative strain, but also through the air, and it like directs out towards it and hits this thing, and something about the tone, even if it doesn't understand, well, I think it has to understand me. Actually, that might be a problem.
I think actually
I
what you notice, like, you sort of let this sound loose, and you suddenly
can hear
stop
me,
for a second and
but
go,
not understand.
like, just as soon as you've cast the spell, as soon as the words are past your lips, you suddenly think, wait, is this gonna work? And you see it have a vivid reaction. There's something about the, like, aberrant nature of this that actually amplifies the psychic damage running through them. It seems like they're just absolutely, there's something about it that, like, the frequencies connect in a way that amplify each other.
I just figure it tries to be scary, and I'm cutting it down. Be like, oatmeal's no.
Yeah, they're just
it's
living.
worse than you. It's kind of the equivalent. I eat like you for breakfast. Oh, sorry, just a
be
quote
very
from
good.
Happy Gilmore.
Mhm.
Anyway, 2 points of psychic damage,
Yeah.
and
I've
it's
marked the
disadvantage.
damage. Yeah. Disadvantage on their next attack roll it makes before the end of their next turn. Yeah.
You got it.
Very
And
good.
then I ready the crossbow and stay outside the range of whatever that is.
Yes, attacking from afar seems to be a plan. Speaking of puddles, we see your eyes blink like a cartoon character in your shell. What do you do?
Nope.
Puddles? Yes? No?
Too scared. I don't really stay safe in my shell.
You are forgoing an action?
Yeah.
Okay. I will let you interrupt at any
Very.
time before the next turn starts, if you wish. Technically, the rules for ready in action don't allow this, but I think it makes sense that you are sort of like waiting for an opportunity you may or may not choose to take, depending on if your courage gets to you or not. To be clear, you do not have the, like, quote-unquote frightened condition, just in case you thought I was implying that without saying it. Either
I'm giving
way,
it to you.
let's move on. Flynn.
Yes. Flynn is going to get as close as he thinks he can. And then he's going to, without going into the sphere of influence.
Sure.
And then I would like to cast Hunter's Mark.
Okay, very good. What does this look like for you? Because I'm actually very curious about how your whole training as a ranger sort of worked. When it just is like the skill set, it's a lot easier to explain away, but this magical element, you must have picked that up somehow, and it must look like something.
Yeah, it's all very subtle, I think.
Mhm.
And maybe other rangers can do it differently, but I think it's supposed to just be like how in tune you are with nature is where it comes from for a ranger. So
Sure.
for Flynn, it's very subtle. And I think for Hunter's Mark, what he does is he kind of like grinds his feet into the ground to get himself sort of to like kind of push away all the like debris and get right into like to the dirt, right? So he's very grounded.
Sure.
And then he just like locks his target in his eyesight and concentrates. and just kind of like very melodramatically under his breath, just mutters something along the lines of like, "I mark you," or something like that. It's very subtle, but it's with the grounding.
I kind of like the idea that it's almost like your character's almost like a paladin in that, like, I can see you being like, you have been decreed as a threat to this, like, to my home, and I must see you, like this very, like, sort of, noble decree almost.
In the name of the moon, I shall punish you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I was gonna go full JRPG with it, but that didn't feel like the right move for the character.
No, it could still be like subtle and restrained, but like that's still like the energy behind it, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Very cool. All right. That just happens. You get a bonus to damage.
I don't know what.
It was trying to roll the damage that you would get. Like, yeah.
Oh, is that what clicking on that did?
That's what that did. Yeah.
Okay. So I clicked
if
that
later, exactly when you attack, you can click that to get the damage. But you can also just roll it, whichever way is more convenient for you.
Okay, cool.
Great. We see
and
that.
Is that a full action, or do Rangers get a bonus action? I'm not very clear on the attack.
It is a bonus action. You still may make a full action, whatever that happens to be. Probably an attack.
Yeah. So I have a longbow. It's
Very
not
good.
out yet. Do I need to spend an action getting it ready?
No, you don't. If your hands were already full of something else, you might have to, but drawing the weapon initially, you can do that as part of the attack. Yeah.
Cool. Then I would like to attack with my longbow.
Okay. I will not be imposing disadvantage, even though technically longbows impose disadvantage when small creatures fire them. Which is a very funny rule where they're like, hey, let's give rangers a longbow. Not the option of a short bow or a longbow. Let's just give them a longbow.
Yeah, that doesn't fair.
It's very rude. Anyway, yeah. Go ahead, take that in.
No small rangers allowed.
Yeah. I have this picture of you sort of propping yourself up on your tail like a cartoon squirrel. Well, don't think real squirrels can do that. But to get yourself the ability to like get the full lengths of the longbow under you. Great. You roll a 7 there?
Okay. I rolled a 7.
That is an unfortunate roll. I don't think I can justify. Well,
You don't have to. It's probably a tough shot anyway, because I don't know how much of that is poking out of the cauldron.
Yeah. I think you're right. It's sort of a an equivalent situation there, where it has limited mobility because it is just kind of stuck there, but it also is sort of behind half cover, kind of. So they're awash. I think that's appropriate. So unfortunately, you level the arrow, and I don't think you even necessarily miss. It just sort of like gashes through something. It's like kind of like a hole in it that's just already there and doesn't leave a mark. Okay. Yeah.
So is there like something crawled out of the cauldron?
Yeah, there's a series of like heads and limbs that are basically like stuck in it.
They're kind of...
no, so we are fighting like the cauldron itself. It's all like one thing.
Well,
right?
The stuff that's coming out of the cauldron, I would assume.
Oh, please don't. Please tell me this isn't going to go full hermit crab and come crawling at us.
Oh, no.
I actually said that out loud.
It wasn't going to before.
Thank
you, Todd. Thank you for those nightmares.
My nana used to tell me a story about that.
Sorry,
who's the closest to the thing?
Who is closest?
Is anyone?
Yes. Aldrin literally stabbed it in melee range with a rapier. Winston is right next to Aldrin, though. But I think Aldrin would technically be closest just because they like lanced into it. Yeah.
Oh, never mind that.
Okay. Great. Well, after that, Cass. What do you have for us?
So what kind of... So, I mean, I guess I could make an attack then probably would be more effective. But kind of wondering if there's a way to if I can like run in and push the cauldron into the fire.
You could you could bull rush it and try and do that. You wonder if it would move much, considering the stuff it's kind of like caked into on the ground.
Oh yeah.
So that you wonder about that, but also, I mean, you're a rogue. You could use ropes for things if you want to like get fancy with it.
That's true. Do I have ropes?
Sure, everyone's got ropes.
Yeah. Yes. Ropes is a kind of thieves tool. I should do a rope.
Yeah, it's part of everyone's pack if you're using the standard D&D adventuring supplies.
That's also true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fine. Sorry, I'm just thinking. Yeah. Well, I guess I could go in there and. Yeah. I think that this sounds good. I want to do. You think I could do a lasso from like more than 10 feet away?
That's a very interesting question. I'll give you. Yeah, let's say that's like a 10-20 range, like 10 being a flat roll and 20 being a disadvantaged roll.
Okay, well, yeah, I'll try to do. I'll do in 10 feet.
I do like the idea that you hastily tie a lasso, or yours already in a lasso style knot. I don't know.
Yeah.
You got quick fingers.
That's my initiative. It's like what was everyone doing in like those moments when everyone else was doing stuff?
Ooh, I do like that. Yes. This entire time you've been quickly tying knots, getting this ready.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Love that. Yeah, so if you want to throw it from the maximum range, I'm going to say you can make a save at advantage, but I think you do have to get close enough to it that it's like...
All right, yeah, I'll make a save at advantage, yeah.
Okay.
I
think you're right on the cusp of it, yeah. That advantage saved you. A 4 and a 19. So you start to approach it with your rope thinking, okay, this is going to be fine. You take like one step too far and you start to feel it and you pull back suddenly, saving your mind. And at that same moment, you throw out the lasso. So you still sort of like got the advantage of that extra, like, step of range, but you pulled your mind safely away. Make me an attack roll at disadvantage.
What would it be? Can you use my dexterity?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Disadvantage doesn't do anything.
It does not. So you just rolled a flat dexterity check. You would be getting yeah, I think that's actually appropriate. You're not getting proficiency bonus here. This is an improficient weapon. Unfortunately, unless you can justify it being proficient, right? You're not trained in lasso unless you have a reason to be.
No, I'm not. I haven't herding cattle or anything like that.
Great. But it flies true, and you manage to latch around, sort of like the lip of the cauldron. Presumably, your intent is to pull it into the fire. So
yeah,
you notice very quickly that your rope is hanging basically above that fire, and so you'll only have a fraction of you have one shot at this, basically.
It makes sense.
Okay. I see us getting very close, possibly over our intended time. So I think everyone sort of sees this effect, this attempt here. The rope is thrown, the cauldron is latched, and everyone sort of looks back and sees Cass there. I'm gonna say, Aldrin starts to like try to move away, finds that their feet are just like stuck in the stuff and they can't get out from it. So instead they sort of like reach down and try and like pull up the cauldron so that it's not as stuck into the gunk. Winston and Flynn and Warren and Puddles, you see this happening. If any of you want to run to assist either end of this exchange, or coordinate any other attack, tell me, just narratively tell me what you were doing in this effort. Starting with Warren, I guess.
I don't know how. I'm not very strong, but I will.
Give it a good
I mean, if you grab the rope, you'll definitely help.
All right.
If
I'll
you
grab
cast
the
it,
rope.
look at you like, come on.
Yeah.
I'll grab the rope and just pull as hard as I can, and I guess I can guidance myself to assist.
Or you could even guidance Cass here. So yeah, we see you sort of bound over to assist Cass.
Actually, I like that.
see-
I'm going to assist Cass, and I'll just grab the rope and pretend like I'm pulling real hard, but really I'm just like, woo! Oh, this is good pulling, people.
Good, yeah.
But I'll
you're
actually
pretending to hold the
expend the
couch.
guidance.
Yeah, I understand.
What's the
and
goal
assist.
with the last
I will
one?
aid.
We're gonna pull the whole thing into the fire.
Okay.
So I sort of skipped past Winston there. I'm trying to not stick too closely to initiative here so that we can quickly move through this procedure. But you also find that your paws or feet or whatever it is that we have as animal folk are also like gummed up by this mess of filth around the cauldron, and that you can't move much, but you can reach forward and also try to assist with the lifting it from this muck, so that it can be pulled more easily. Or you could do something
I would
else.
just try and grab the cauldron and just lift it over my shoulders and just throw it down.
Beautiful. You get your shoulders right in there and trying to flip it over you. Flynn and Puddles, do you have any assistance in this regard?
Yeah, I do. Okay. So I kind of am peering out of my shell and I see what's going on and I'm like, oh, I think I know how to do this. And then I like just stick my head out, and I think I'm kind of still on the ground, but I've got my like arms and head out, and I kind of like I'm waving my arms around a little bit, and I cast levitate on the cauldron.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well,
So
stronger than I thought.
Yeah, and I think I'm like everyone, unless if people want to notice, that's fine. But I think they might be distracted enough, and that it's not really an obvious enough spell that they're kind of like, oh, it's kind of it's moving now.
Yeah,
right. Like it's
we see it like peeling.
It's kind of levitated, and you're like pulling it from side to side.
Yeah. Seeing it peeling away from the base of the ground here with that assistance. I think, because I didn't think about doing sort of, as it starts to rise up, it sort of like rotates a little bit in the air. Like the top of the cauldron is no longer the top necessarily. And jaws bite down on our good friend Winston. I'm going to make a attack roll.
Oh
No. If the cauldron
that is not
monster assemblage, if the cauldron monster assemblage counts as like a creature, an unwilling levitatee, then it can make a con save if you would like.
Sure, let's make a con save. Fortunately for you, Winston, as it starts to rise up, it is very disoriented and completely misses you, basically just spinning in the air there, rotating on this axis. Completely goes wide, does not manage to bite into you. Let me make another test for a saving throw. That is a total of... That's 10 total. I assume their saving throw is 12?
Like 10. 12, yeah. Spell save DC 12.
Yeah. So, successfully peels away from the ground. We see Warren and Cass give it a good pull. We see Winston try and hurl it over their shoulder, dodging out of the way of the the biting mouth. Flynn, do you have any action that you wish to take as you see it careening into the fire?
If you're looking at Puddles, he looks like he's like very very concentrated on if you didn't know any better would look like he's trying to like blow a fly off of his nose. He's like blowing upward, like but he just like keeps doing it continuously to try to keep the cauldron aloft.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I completely forgot to ask you what it looked like.
There's that high charisma.
Yep.
If there's enough time, Flynn's gonna try and run over to help pull on the rope.
Great.
But otherwise,
I pass Flynn my part of the rope.
I wish squirrels were bigger than rabbits. I love the idea of like if it had been Winston just running over and picking you and the rope up instead.
I mean, I'm not a big rabbit.
Pardon?
I'm not a big rabbit.
Yeah, but I'm a squirrel.
Yeah.
You're more bunny
Probably
than
pretty
hare.
similar size.
Yeah.
We're so fluffy.
Cauldron basically rolls into the fire at this point. I'm not sure. Probably with Winston's help, it stops, reaching over to make sure it doesn't roll out of the fire afterwards. You can only, grab it for a moment before, it's hot. But you're able to keep it there. And
I'm gonna
you all start to hear
chuck
this
my oil
hissing
on it as well.
of steam. Oh yeah, we see Warren chuck this oil that cracks open on the back of the cauldron. It's basically like face down in, or like opening down into the fire, and the whole thing lights up in flame. Everyone nearby, as the cauldron pulled closer towards you, I need one last wisdom saving throw as you feel this like psychic resonance just in death throes breaking into your mind.
Oh wow!
To make that?
I want everyone to make that. Everyone should make that.
That's a 3.
That is a 3. Oh no.
I got 14.
Mocha, I don't see your roll. Can you just make me a quick wisdom saving throw?
Yeah, 1 second.
Yeah, you should have your proficiency on this, because as a druid. Yep, that's expected.
Oh wow!
Everyone feels this like hissing and bubbling and popping, and just this like not guttural. That's the wrong way. Just like this like dying shriek and scream pierce through the night and into your minds, and it shudders you, but you're able to hold it back and keep from falling to your knees. Warren,
Not this
however, as well as Puddles, feel it deep in their minds. I want you to mark down on your sheets that you were shaken by the death cries of the
I'm
Cauldron of
actually
Horrors.
gonna run from this and then literally pull out parchment and start describing it and writing it, and it just looks like nightmare fuel scribbles of a madman on this parchment that I'm scribbling it down furiously.
Very good. So, with that, I'm going to call it. We went a little bit longer than I intended, but we also started a little bit later, so we'll see if we'll see where it shakes out in the edit. I'm not going to belabor the point. If anyone has anything they want to shout out right now, now is your chance. But otherwise, this has been Hot Springs and Hydras. Please be.
Oh, I just have like a little after credits scene, maybe if it's all right.
I'll allow it. It's more like a TV show than a movie, but that's okay.
Yeah.
We hear this like ear-splitting shriek, and the screen goes black. Credits begin to roll, and a little window opens, and we see your scene in it.
Yeah, sure. So this is like in a tent, kind of later on.
Sure.
I kind of prop up an orb on a bunch of like kind of junk,
Mm-hmm.
and it starts to glow, and I have laid out in front of it like a bunch of paper, the parchment, and a sample of the thing, and I'm looking to the orb from under. It is under a tent.
Yeah, you're like underlit from this glowing orb, totally.
Yeah, and I'm like, so what do you think?
And we cut to black.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Whoa. Talk about your cliffhangers.
Yeah.
Is ARG spelled with 4 A's and 3 R's? You know what? I'll just improvise.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on Hot
And
Springs
they are
and
to feel.
Hydras, episode 2.
Yay! Woo!
Ooh.
Have a very good
Thank you.
night.
That was fun. Thanks for having me. Appreciate
fun,
you
yeah.
bringing me in.
Yeah, no, I'm super glad you got to play. Always love to hear you as a player because you're usually a GM. So
It's true.
always a delight.
Much appreciated.
Have a good night, everyone. We'll catch you next time.
Good night.
Good night.
Nate.
Bye.
Roll for ARG!